The execution square of Outpost Station Greyline was always cold, even during the artificial daylight cycle. The metal floor kept a chill that crawled into the bones, and the tall silver towers surrounding the area made every sound echo like a warning. Humans were rare here and respected by few. When a human stood on the stage, hands tied, the crowd gathered only for entertainment. Tonight, that human was Lia Ren, a young mechanic from Earth. She'd been accused of gravity coil theft, a crime she did not commit. The guards claimed they had evidence, but everyone knew the truth. Someone had framed her, and the alien officials of Greyline never cared much for human voices. But standing at the back of the crowd was her older sister, Marin Ren, and Marin did not accept unfair endings. The execution was scheduled for Cycle 7. When the count reached 1 minute, Marin stepped forward. She kept her coat tight around her body, hiding the small plasma cutter she had stolen from her workshop. Her heart beat fast, but her mind was clear. She had only one goal: get Lia out alive. The alien judge, a tall Zyran with glowing blue veins across his neck, raised his hand. Let the sentence be carried out. Marin moved. She sprinted toward the stage, pushing past confused onlookers. A guard tried to stop her, but she kicked him in the knee, sending him crashing to the floor. Another guard reached for the alarm, but Marin jumped onto the side railing of the stage, swung herself up, and cut through Lia's restraints with one quick burst of her plasma cutter. The crowd gasped. Lia stumbled forward, shocked and weak. "Marin? What?" "No time," Marin said. "Move." Alarms began to shriek across the entire outpost. Red lights flashed. The crowd scattered in panic. Guards scrambled to form a barrier, but Marin fired the cutter again, slicing open a control panel and triggering a burst of steam that blocked their path. She pulled Lia off the platform and ran toward the maintenance tunnels. They slipped inside seconds before a team of armed enforcers arrived. Marin sealed the door behind them and dragged the heavy wheel lock across. She could already hear the guards shouting commands on the other side. Lia leaned against the wall, trembling. "You're insane," she said, but there was relief in her voice and tears gathering in her eyes. Marin hugged her quickly. "You're my sister. I'm not letting them kill you." The tunnels were narrow and filled with pipes, shaking with the vibrations of the station. Marin led Lia through twists and turns until they reached a small storage room where she had prepared 2 backpacks and a stolen access card. "You planned this?" Lia whispered. Marin nodded. "I knew they would never listen, and I knew they wanted you gone." "But why? Who framed me?" "That's what I'm going to find out," Marin said. "But first, we get you off the station." They stayed in hiding for almost 2 hours. The alarms eventually stopped, but the station remained tense. Patrols searched every hallway. The public screens displayed Lia's face and a reward number bigger than anything a poor worker could ever imagine. Marin peeked through a vent grate. "We'll move when the patrol passes." Lia sat on the floor, hugging her knees. "Thank you," she whispered. "I really thought I was going to die." "You won't," Marin said softly. "Not while I'm alive." Those words were true. But Marin did not know that someone else had already been paid to test that promise. Far away, in a dark loading dock at the lower end of Greyline, a ship the size of a small shuttle had just arrived without any official docking code. It entered silently, using a forged signal, and locked itself to the side of the outpost like a spider resting on its web. From the ship stepped a figure wearing a smooth mask and a long black coat. The mask had no eyes, no mouth, only a faint silver line down the center. This was Varric, an alien assassin known for never failing a contract. His species, the Cruxy, were rare, and most people only knew them as rumors, shadows that slipped in and out of places where death followed. Varric held a small hollow projector in his hand. A face appeared above it, Lia Ren. Under her picture was a short message. Target escaped execution. Eliminate both sisters. Payment doubled. Varric tilted his head slightly, as if amused. He whispered through his mask in a cold, metallic voice, "Simple cleanup." He stepped into the shadows, moving silently, almost like smoke drifting through the air. The outpost sensors did not detect him. The guards did not notice him slipping past. The camera showed only brief flickers when he passed by. His first stop was the execution square. He inspected the damage, the plasma burns, the broken restraints, the guard still lying unconscious. Then he replayed the moment in his mind, using his mask's enhanced perception. He could almost track the sisters' path through the crowd, the tunnels they had escaped into, the direction they had taken. He spoke softly. "Run as far as you want. I always find my targets." Back in the storage room, Leah heard a faint metallic echo, like a distant footstep, but sharper and human. She turned her head. "Marin, are we alone?" Marin listened carefully. "Yes." "Why?" Leah swallowed. "Because it feels like something else is on this station." Marin gave her a reassuring look, but inside she felt a sudden tightness in her chest. Something was wrong, very wrong. And on the other side of the metal wall, the assassin smiled behind his mask. He had found their trail. Marin and Leah left the storage room the moment the patrols changed shifts. The hallway outside was dim, lit only by a flickering line of wall lamps. The whole station felt tense, as if holding its breath. Somewhere far above them, a siren echoed once before falling silent again. Marin kept her voice low. "Stay close. Don't make any noise." Leah nodded, though her legs were still weak from hours of fear and from almost dying earlier that day. Every time she blinked, she still saw the execution platform, the cold metal, the judge's raised hand, the heavy silence before death. But now there was something worse behind them, something she couldn't see, something she could almost feel. They moved down the hallway. Marin checked every corner before stepping forward. She had always been brave, ever since they were small, but tonight her eyes were sharper, harder. She knew they were being hunted, even if she didn't know by who. They reached the junction. To the left were the lower ring markets, mostly empty during night cycle. To the right were the docking ramps. "We go right," Marin whispered. Leah tugged on her sleeve. "But the docks will be guarded. Heavily." "I know, but the transport ship I arranged leaves in 20 minutes. If we miss it, we're stuck here." They turned right and kept moving, but they didn't know that the assassin, Varric, had already entered the tunnels behind them. His steps made no sound. His coat barely moved. His mask scanned the air for heat trails, chemical traces, and electrical patterns. He picked up the faintest signal. 2 humans, one injured, one moving quickly. He followed. Marin and Leah reached into the hallway and ducked into an old service corridor. It smelled of oil and damp metal. The pipes above them dripped slowly, leaving cold drops on their heads. Leah rubbed her arms. "I hate this place." "It's the fastest route," Marin said. "We stay here until we're near the docks." As they walked, Marin whispered, "I've been thinking, whoever framed you isn't just someone with power. They used forged data logs, real charges. Everything looked official. Why would anyone do that to me?" Leah asked, almost pleading. Marin didn't answer at first. She helped Leah over a broken floor vent, then said quietly, "Maybe it wasn't you they wanted to hurt." Leah stared at her. "What do you mean?" Marin finally looked up. Her eyes were tired. "Someone might be targeting me." "That doesn't make sense." "Maybe not to you," Marin said, "but lately I've been fixing things for people I shouldn't. High-level tech, devices that are supposed to be illegal, and maybe I upset the wrong alien." Leah's mouth opened slowly. "Marin, what did you do?" Before Marin could answer, the lights in the corridor flickered once, twice, then went completely dark. Leah froze. "Marin?" Marin grabbed her hand. "Stay close." But in the darkness, something moved. A soft scrape, a small metallic click, a whisper of air. Marin's heart hit her ribs. She pulled Leah behind a support beam. "Someone's here." Leah didn't breathe. She didn't dare. Her whole body felt cold. The lights flickered again, just for a moment, and in that moment, Marin saw something at the far end of the corridor. A figure with a smooth, eyeless mask. The lights went out again. Leah squeezed Marin's hand so hard it hurt. "What is that?" "I don't know," Marin whispered. But she did, instantly. The posture, the stillness. The confidence. It was an assassin. She didn't know the name, but the profession was obvious. And assassins never traveled alone. They traveled on contracts, which meant someone had paid to have them killed. The figure moved again, slowly, deliberately. Each step made a soft metallic sound, the kind that felt like it came from inside your own skull. Marin's mind raced. She whispered, "When I say run, you run. Don't think. Don't look back." Liah swallowed. "Marin, he'll catch us." "Maybe," Marin admitted, "but I'm not letting him kill you." She took a deep breath. "Run." They sprinted down the corridor. Liah stumbled, but Marin pulled her forward. She could hear the assassin behind them. Swift, controlled, never rushing, just following like a shadow that knew time was on its side. At the end of the corridor was a maintenance hatch. Marin slammed the emergency switch, and the door slid upward like a slow-moving jaw. She shoved Liah through and jumped after her. The hatch closed just as the assassin reached it. A single metallic hand slid between the closing doors, but Marin slammed the override switch. A burst of electricity ran through the metal. The door snapped shut with a violent crack, forcing the hand back. Silence. Liah collapsed on the floor, gasping. "Marin!" He almost got in. Marin's hand shook, but her voice stayed firm. "We have to keep moving." They made their way through the new hallway, finally reaching the back entrance of the docking sector. They could hear guards moving, but they weren't close. For a moment, Marin let herself breathe. Then she froze. The wall behind them made a single, sharp tapping sound. Liah felt her blood turn to ice. He found another way in. Marin grabbed her sister's hand again and pulled her toward Dock Gate 12, the one she had bribed a worker to open. They weren't going to walk. They were going to run for their lives. Behind them, quiet, patient, unstoppable, the assassin followed. And he was getting closer. The docking sector of Outpost Greyline was a maze of metal ramps, cargo crates, repair pits, and security checkpoints. Most workers were asleep during night cycle, leaving the area unusually quiet. Only the humming of ships and the distant clatter of maintenance drones filled the air. Marin and Liah reached the shadow of a large cargo container and crouched behind it. Marin checked the area with quick, sharp eyes. Liah tried to steady her breathing, but her chest still hurt from running. "Dock Gate 12 is close," Marin whispered. If the worker kept his promise, the gate should open when we reach it. "And if he didn't?" Liah asked. Marin didn't look at her. "Then we climb through a vent and pray the assassin doesn't catch us." Liah shivered. "Marin, who would hire someone like that? I've never seen anything so wrong." "I don't know," Marin said, her jaw tightening. "But I will find out." They started moving again, staying low, hiding behind crates and equipment. They reached a row of fuel tanks when Marin suddenly stopped and held out her arm to block Liah. A guard patrol walked by, 2 alien officers with rifles glowing a dull red. They stopped near the tanks and scanned the area. Liah whispered, "We'll be caught." "Not if we wait," Marin said. "Stay quiet." The guards finished their scan and walked away, talking about something in their own language. When they turned the corner, Marin led Liah out from hiding and toward a narrow walkway that led directly to Dock Gate 12. But every step felt heavier. Liah could sense it. The assassin was close. Too close. Varric moved through the station like a silent breeze. He had lost track of many targets over the years, running, hiding, begging, but the sisters were different. They were clever. They moved in ways that suggested training, experience, survival instinct. He respected that in a cold, distant way. His mask fed him data as he followed their heat trail, body temperatures, footsteps, chemical traces from their skin. He could see the faint path they left behind, like a thread of light, only he could see. "They run well," he muttered. "Good." His steps made no sound, but his presence seemed to change the air itself, making it colder, heavier. 2 guards passed near him. One frowned and turned as if sensing something. But when he looked, Varric was already gone. He continued toward the docks, toward Gate 12. Toward them, Marin and Liah reached the service ladder and climbed up to a narrow catwalk. Below them, A row of cargo containers waited to be loaded onto various ships. Farther away, blue light glowed from the engines of a transport vessel, the very ship Marin had arranged. "We're close," Marin said softly, but Lia tugged her sleeve and pointed. "Marin, look." Near the large transport ship, at least 7 guards stood in a defensive formation. They scanned the area with high-range sensors. Their rifles hummed. They were on alert. Marin's stomach tightened. "Why are there so many?" Leah's voice trembled. They know we're trying to escape." Marin turned and looked back the way they had come. The shadows behind the crates seemed thicker, darker, too still. "He's pushing us toward the guards," Marin whispered. "He wants less trouble catching us." "What do we do?" Marin pointed toward a ventilation pipe above the gate. "We climb. If we get into that duct, we can reach the outer platform near the ship without passing the guards." Lia stared at the pipe. It was rusty and small. "Marin, I'm not sure I fit." "You will," Marin said. "I'll make sure." They moved carefully along the catwalk. The metal creaked under their feet. Every sound echoed louder than it should. When they reached the pipe, Marin climbed up first, using loose bolts and metal hooks as handholds. The pipe cover was old and weak. Marin pulled it off quietly and slid inside. "Come on, Lia," she whispered. Lia climbed up awkwardly, slipping twice and nearly falling. But Marin grabbed her hands and helped her inside. Once inside the duct, Marin pulled the cover back into place. It was dark and narrow. They had to crawl on their elbows, moving slowly so the metal wouldn't groan too loudly. But the air inside the pipe felt heavy and stale. "Marin," Lia whispered, "I can't breathe." "Yes, you can," Marin replied gently. "Just keep going. It will open up soon." After several long minutes, they reached an exit grate. Through it, they could see the outer docking platform, just a few meters from the transport ship. "We're here," Marin whispered. "When I push this open, we make a run for it." She took a deep breath. Then she froze. A sharp sound echoed through the duct behind them. Tap, tap, tap. Slow, steady, deliberate. Leah's heart dropped. "He's in the pipe." Marin pushed at the grate with her shoulder. "Move, Leah. Now." The grate snapped open, clattering onto the platform. Leah crawled out first, pulling herself free. Marin came next, landing hard on the metal floor. They sprinted toward the ship. 10 meters. 5. The boarding ramp was already lowering. The worker Marin had bribed must have activated it. "Run!" she yelled. The ship lights brightened. The engines hummed. They reached the ramp, and then a shadow stepped out from the smoke behind them. Varric. He moved like a ghost. Silent. Smooth. Not even breathing hard. Leah screamed. Marin grabbed her arm and pulled her up the ramp just as the assassin reached out with one long, metallic hand. He touched the ramp. Just touched it, and the metal under his fingers began to melt with a soft hiss. Marin pulled Leah inside the ship and slammed the hatch button. The door closed. Barely. The ship engines roared, lifting the transport off the platform. And the assassin watched them go, the melted handprint still glowing on the ramp. He tilted his head. "They escaped," he whispered. "Good." His voice was calm, but his mask reflected only one thing. Hunt. The transport ship shot away from Outpost Greyline, shaking as it entered open space. Inside, the lights flickered, the metal walls rattled, and alarms beeped from the engine room. It was an old ship, poorly maintained and barely legal. But it was fast enough to carry 2 frightened humans away from a deadly assassin. Marin and Leah sat on the floor near the back wall of the cargo cabin. Their breathing was shaky. Their hands were trembling. Neither of them spoke for almost a full minute. Finally, Leah whispered, "Marin, is it over?" Marin wiped sweat from her forehead. "For now, but not forever." Leah hugged her knees. "He touched the ramp, Marin. The metal melted. What kind of creature does that?" "I don't know," Marin admitted. "But assassins like him don't stop. Not until the target is dead." Leah closed her eyes, trying not to cry. "Why us? Why me? I'm just a mechanic. I never hurt anyone." Marin didn't answer right away. She stared at the metal floor, thinking. Too many things had gone wrong in one day. The false charges, the execution attempt, the guards hunting them, and now a creature that moved like a shadow and melted metal with a touch. None of it made sense, unless someone powerful wanted them gone. Marin spoke carefully, as if the words might trigger something terrible. "Leah, I think this has something to do with the job I took last month. The secret one." Leah's eyes opened. "The one you wouldn't tell me about?" "Yes." Marin swallowed. "I fixed something for an alien official. Something illegal. Something he didn't want anyone to know about." "What kind of thing?" "An encrypted device," Marin said. "Some kind of memory core. He didn't want it on the station's records. He paid me a lot to repair it." Leah frowned. "Did you see what was inside?" Marin shook her head. "No, but I think it was connected to other crimes. Maybe even to the station's leadership. And you think that's why someone framed me for theft? Why they tried to execute me instead of you?" "Yes," Marin said quietly. "They couldn't kill me without anyone noticing. But you were alone. You didn't have protection. They thought I would break if they took you." Leah hugged herself tighter. "But why hire an assassin? Isn't killing one human enough of them?" Marin looked at her sister and spoke softly. "Because we escaped. And because now they don't know what we know or what we might reveal." Before Leah could respond, the captain of the transport ship entered the cabin. He was a short, broad-shouldered alien with dark green skin and sharp yellow eyes. His name tag read Torin. He looked annoyed. "You two caused a lot of trouble back there." Marin stood up quickly. "Please. We paid you. We just needed a ride out." "You got your ride," Torin said. "But the station has already sent a message. They're looking for you, offering rewards." Leah stiffened. "You're not turning us in, right?" Torin sighed. "I don't turn in passengers. Bad for business. But I need you off my ship once we reach the next hub." "That's fine," Marin said. "Just get us there safely." Torin gave a grumpy nod and walked back to the cockpit. Leah whispered, "Do you think he'll help?" "No," Marin answered honestly. "But he won't hurt us either." The cabin shook as the ship entered a narrow trade lane. Space streaks flashed outside the small window. Marin stared at them, thinking, planning, calculating. "We need a place to hide," she said. "A place where assassins don't go." "Is that even real?" Leah asked. Marin hesitated. "There's a station called Black Harbor. It's outside official space. Criminals go there to disappear. Assassins don't follow unless they have a death wish." "Black Harbor?" Leah whispered. "Isn't that dangerous?" "It is," Marin said. "But the assassin is worse." Leah sighed. "If you think it's our best chance, then okay. We'll go." Marin put a hand on her shoulder. "I won't let him hurt you." They sat together in silence for a moment. Then the lights flickered again. But this time, something else happened. A loud metallic clank sounded from the top of the ship. Leah jumped. "What was that?" Marin's eyes widened. She stood up slowly. That didn't come from inside. Another clank, and another, a slow, crawling sound along the hull. Leah covered her mouth, shaking. Is he on the ship?" Marin whispered. "He shouldn't be able to board in open space unless he used a vacuum tether." The sound stopped. Silence. Marin took a single step backward. Then, thud, a dent formed on the ceiling panel above them. Leah let out a small scream. The dent grew deeper and deeper, metal bending inward like it was being pushed by an unseen force. Marin yelled, "Run!" They sprinted toward the cockpit as the ceiling cracked open with a sharp tearing sound. Fragments of metal fell around them. A hand, sleek, metallic, terrifying, pushed through the opening. Then a second, then a masthead. Vera dropped into the cabin like a falling shadow. The assassin straightened his coat. "Running again," he said calmly. "Good. I prefer challenge." Marin grabbed Leah by the wrist and dragged her toward the cockpit door. Behind them, the assassin stepped forward with slow, confident steps. As if he already knew there was nowhere left to run. The cockpit door slid open just as Marin and Liao reached it. Captain Torin turned in his seat, confused and angry. "What are you doing in?" Marin shoved him aside. "He's here." "Whose?" A metallic footstep echoed behind them. Before Torin could finish the sentence, Liao screamed. Marin pulled the captain's emergency latch, and the cockpit door slammed shut just as Varric's shadow fell across the floor. The assassin stopped on the other side. The door shook once. Twice. The metal began to warp. Torin's yellow eyes widened. What is that thing?" "No time," Marin said. "Can you shut off the door override?" I can try." He rushed to the control panel and typed fast with trembling fingers. But the screen flashed red. "Access denied." Torin cursed. "He's hacking the ship's systems." "How?" Marin tried to think. "Can you fly faster? Turn? Anything. If I push the ship any harder, the engines will collapse." The cockpit door made another deafening bang. A dent formed right in the center, exactly where Varric's fist had struck it. Liao sobbed. "Marin, we're trapped." Marin turned to Torin. "Do you have weapons? This is a transport ship." Torin shouted. "I don't carry guns for fun." The metal door groaned louder. A crack began to split down the middle. Marin grabbed Torin's jacket. "Any weapons? Tools? A welding torch? Something." Torin scrambled under the control panel and pulled out a small emergency crate. He kicked it open. Inside were 3 items: a heavy wrench, a flare gun, and a tiny plasma torch, barely enough to cut thin metal. Marin grabbed the torch. Liao grabbed the flare gun. Torin held the wrench with shaking hands. The cockpit door split wider. Then it was kicked off its hinges. It flew across the room, smashing into the navigation console. Varric stepped inside calmly, as if entering a quiet room instead of a ship being ripped apart. 3 targets now, he said, tilting his head. "Interesting." The lights flickered around him. His mask reflected their terrified faces. Marin ignited the torch. Its small blue flame hissed weakly, but it was the only thing she had. Varric moved first. Fast. Too fast. He grabbed Torin by the throat and lifted him off the floor with one arm. Torin's legs kicked wildly as he tried to breathe. "Stop," Marin shouted. Varric looked at her calmly and squeezed harder. Liao fired the flare gun. The flare shot out in a bright red streak and hit Varric directly in the side of the head. Fire erupted over half of his mask and shoulder. He dropped Torin instantly and grabbed the flare, crushing it in his hand. Flames spilled across the floor. Marin pulled Torin away from the burning sparks, while Varric turned slowly back toward Liao. His mask glowed red from the fire. His voice was almost impressed. "Good shot." He reached for her. Marin jumped in front of Liao and slashed the torch across Varric's arm. The blue flame cut a small glowing scratch into his metal sleeve. Varric paused. Marin backed away, holding the torch like a dagger. "Get away from her." The assassin studied the tiny burn. Then he looked at Marin. "You are the problem," he said simply. "Not her." Then he moved. Marin barely ducked as his hand sliced through the air where her head had been. The force of it cracked the cockpit glass behind her. Torin, still coughing, grabbed the heavy wrench and swung it with all his strength. It hit Varric in the side of the head and did nothing. Varric didn't even turn. He simply backhanded Torin across the cockpit. The captain slammed into the wall and collapsed unconscious. "Torin!" Liao cried. Marin dragged her backward as Varric advanced step by step. The torch flickered weakly. Its fuel was almost gone. Marin whispered, "Liao, get to the emergency pod." Leah's eyes widened. "No, I'm not leaving you." "You have to." Marin yelled. "He wants me, not you." Varric stopped a few meters away, watching them. Marin's voice softened. "I promise I keep you safe. Go now." Liao shook her head violently, tears streaming. "I'm not losing you. I won't." Marin swallowed hard. "Then help me." The ship rocked violently as the engines overloaded. Warning alarms blared. Engine critical. Core instability failure. Systems overheating. Varric looked up analyzing the alerts. Your ship will break apart in 40 seconds. Marin's mind spun 40 seconds. She grabbed Leah's hand and whispered quickly, "On my signal, run for the pod." But no arguments. Marin took a deep breath, raised a dying plasma torch, and charged. Varric grabbed her arm instantly. The torch clattered to the floor. He lifted her off the ground like she weighed nothing. Leah screamed. Marin struggled in his iron grip. The mask moved closer to her face. "Your death ends a contract," Varric said. "Quick. Clean." Then a violent explosion rocked the ship. Panels blew out. Sparks rained. The floor tilted sharply. Marin slipped from Varric's hand and fell hard to the ground. The cockpit ceiling cracked open, revealing pure black space above them, cold and endless. The ship was tearing apart. "Leah, run." Marin yelled. Leah grabbed her sister's arm and pulled her toward the escape pod door as the ship continued to break apart. But Varric was already recovering, already turning toward them, already stepping forward, and the escape pod was only a few feet away. The sun had not yet risen when the first tremors shook the old mining valley. Dawn light tried to push through the clouds, but the world still felt dim and cold. Maya stood at the edge of the rocks with Tira and the young alien scout, Ravin. They watched the horizon in silence. Something felt wrong in the air, too still, too heavy. Tira hugged herself. "Do you feel that?" Maya nodded. "Something big is coming." Ravin put one hand on the ground. His skin flickered with faint blue lines. "Engines," he said. "Many. Not for my people. Not from any colony nearby." Maya's breath tightened. "Then who?" He looked up at her, with eyes full of worry. "The inheritors." Tira grabbed Maya's arm. "They found us." Before Maya could answer, the sky broke open. A roaring sound spread across the valley. 3 massive ships tore through the clouds, each shaped like a curved blade of metal. Their hulls shimmered with shifting patterns, like living creatures. Bright lights pulsed under their surface, and the wind screamed as they descended. The ground trembled harder. Maya whispered, "Oh no, they brought warships." Ravin stood slowly, shaking. "These are not scouts. These are execution vessels. They don't land unless they intend to clean a planet." "Clean," Tira repeated weakly. "As in destroy?" Ravin nodded. "Everything." A deep fear sank into Maya's chest. She had already saved her sister from one execution. She was not about to lose her again, not to aliens, not to anyone. "We need to move," Maya said. "Now." But the sky flashed again. This time, smaller shapes burst out from the underside of the ships, swift, insect-like fighters that dove toward the valley. Trails of blue fire followed behind them. They spread out in perfect formation. Ravin stared at them in disbelief. "Those are seekers. They only go after marked targets." Maya stepped in front of Tira. "Your sister is marked," Ravin whispered. "The assassin must have sent a signal before you escaped. They know exactly who they want." Tira shook her head hard. "But I didn't do anything." "You don't have to," Ravin said softly. "The inheritors punish potential, not actions." Maya clenched her fists until her knuckles turned white. "I won't let them touch her." Ravin hesitated. "You saved her before, Maya. But this is different. These ships are older than our recorded history. They're weapons." "Weapons can be beaten," Maya said firmly. "People can be protected." Ravin stared at her a moment, then gave a small, hopeless smile. "Humans, you never stop fighting. And we're not stopping today." The first seeker hit the ground nearby. Its legs folded out, sharp and thin. Its glowing eyes scanned the rock formations. Metal claws scraped against the stone. It turned toward them with a noise like grinding glass. Maya grabbed Tira's hand. "Run." The 3 of them dashed through the narrow passages of the mining ruins. Dust rained down as more seekers landed. 6, 8, maybe more. Every time Maya looked back, their bright eyes were closer. Ravin led them toward an abandoned drilling tower. "Inside," he shouted. They rushed in through the bent metal doors. The tower groaned as they slammed them shut. But the sound of hunting claws tapping the ground outside grew louder. Revin checked the control panel. There's an old lift shaft. It leads deep underground. The seekers can't follow easily in tight tunnels. Maya nodded. Good. We hide long enough to plan. Tira stopped suddenly. Her eyes widened. Wait! The tower walls glowed faintly, as if touched by light from outside. Then a beam of white fire cut straight through the metal. Maya dove, pulling Tira down. The beam sliced through where they had been standing, leaving molten lines across the floor. Smoke filled the air. They're cutting in! Revin yelled. Another beam sliced diagonally, narrowly missing him. Maya coughed, waving smoke away. Down the shaft! Now! They raced to the open lift platform. A metal ladder dropped into darkness. Revin began climbing first. Tira followed, but as Maya gripped the ladder, a seeker's claw burst through the wall behind her. She felt the air shift as it reached for her head. Maya let go and fell. Wind rushed past her ears. She hit the ladder several rungs below, pain exploding through her shoulder. But she kept falling, sliding, catching herself against rough metal until she managed to stop. Tira screamed her name from above. I'm okay. Maya shouted back, even though every bone disagreed. A screech echoed from the entrance. The seeker crawled onto the lift platform, peering down the shaft with glowing eyes. Then it jumped. Maya's blood turned cold. Revin! She yelled. Revin reached a junction in the shaft and kicked open a service hatch. This way, he cried. Tira climbed toward him as fast as she could. Maya followed, but pain slowed her down. The seeker's body scraped down the walls behind her, metal shrieking. Its claws sparked as they dug into the sides to slow its descent. Maya, hurry! Tira cried. Maya pushed through the pain, forcing her arms and legs to move. The seeker dropped again, closing the distance. Revin grabbed Tira and pulled her into the side tunnel. Maya, jump! The seeker lunged. Maya kicked off the ladder, flinging herself sideways. She crashed into the tunnel opening as the seeker shot past her, falling into the darkness below. For a few seconds, none of them moved. Then Revin breathed out slowly. This way. But listen carefully. This tunnel leads deeper into the old colony ruins. There's something down there my people sealed away. Maya wiped blood from her forehead. Is it something that can help us? Revin hesitated. I don't know, he said, but it is the only place the inheritors won't follow. Maya took Tira's hand. Then we go. And the three stepped into the darkness, toward something unknown, ancient, and possibly worse than the assassins above. The deeper they walked into the ancient tunnel, the colder the air became. The walls changed from rough stone to smooth black metal, covered in old markings that glowed faintly when someone passed near them. Tira stayed close to Maya, holding her arm tightly. Revin walked ahead with slow steps, his eyes fixed on the strange symbols. How old is this place? Maya whispered. Revin swallowed. Older than every colony my people built. Older than our star maps. It is said this place belonged to the first makers, the ones who created the inheritors long ago. Tira shivered. So, we're walking into the birthplace of the things trying to kill us? Yes, Revin said quietly. But don't worry. The inheritors fear this place even more than you fear them. That didn't comfort Maya at all. After a long walk, the tunnel opened into a massive chamber, large enough to hold a whole city building inside it. In the center stood a huge round door, made of silver metal. It had no handle, no controls, just a single glowing red circle at its center. Tira stepped behind Maya. What is that? Revin's voice trembled. The last door. The first makers built it before they died. My people always said nothing should ever be opened here. Maya studied the door. But the inheritors didn't follow, right? Not yet, Revin whispered. They won't cross into this chamber. Old programming tells them this place is forbidden. And we're safe as long as they stay afraid, Maya said. But she noticed something. The glowing red circle on the door pulsed faster, now that they were close. Almost like it recognized them. Tira nervously touched Maya's arm. Maybe we shouldn't stay here. Then the ground suddenly shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. Ravin looked toward the tunnel they came from and gasped. They're trying to collapse the entrance. They want to bury us inside before we can escape. A deep rumble echoed through the chamber again. Rocks began falling from the ceiling of the tunnels. Soon they'd be trapped. Maya scanned the room desperately. There has to be another way out. There isn't, Ravin said. The only path is through the last door. Tira stared at him in horror. But isn't that dangerous? Ravin nodded. Yes, but staying here is certain death. Maya stepped toward the glowing circle. Maybe the door opens for a reason. Ravin shook his head. Only someone with Maker blood or a perfect genetic match could open it. That is what we believe. Well, Maya said, putting her hand on the glowing circle, let's test that belief. The moment she touched it, the red light turned white. The entire room lit up. Tira jumped back. Ravin fell to his knees. The air hummed with strange energy. The huge door slowly split apart and slid open, revealing bright white light inside. A soft wind blew from it, warm and peaceful. Maya blinked in surprise. It opened for me? Ravin whispered, voice shaking. Impossible unless the makers put something human inside their design. Or you, Maya, are something they predicted long ago. Tira grabbed her hand. We don't have time to think. The inheritors are coming. Indeed, metal screeches echoed from the tunnel entrance. The first seeker crawled halfway through before sparks burst from his body. It acted like something on the other side was hurting it. But it kept pushing anyway, ignoring the pain. They were coming. Maya turned toward the white light inside the door. Let's go. Ravin hesitated. We do not know what is in there. Maya squeezed Tira's hand. We know what's behind us. That was enough. They stepped into the glowing chamber beyond. Inside, everything was quiet. The walls shone like glass. In the center stood a floating silver sphere with streams of light drifting out like slow-moving smoke. When Maya stepped closer, the sphere shifted, almost like it sensed her presence. A gentle voice echoed inside her mind. Human, you have entered the vault of the first makers. Maya froze. Who are you? A memory, the voice said. A guide, a warning. Ravin bowed his head. A maker memory. The voice continued, calm and clear. We created the inheritors to protect our worlds. But they changed. They began killing anything that did not match their perfect design. Before we died, we built this vault to store one last hope. What hope? Maya asked. The sphere glowed brighter. Not a weapon, a choice. Someone who can end the inheritors' ancient program. Someone outside their logic. The light tightened around her. Someone like you. Maya felt her heart pound. Why me? I'm just a human. You are unpredictable, the voice said. You save without logic. You fight without permission. You protect without asking who deserves it. The inheritors cannot understand this. That is why they fear you. Tira stepped forward. So, Maya can stop them? The sphere pulsed. Yes, but it requires a bond, a connection to the vault's power. If she accepts, she will be able to shut down every inheritor's ship with a single command. Maya's breath caught. And if I refuse, then you and your sister die today and the galaxy burns later. The metal shriek of seekers echoed from outside the door. Time was running out. Maya looked at Tira. Her sister's frightened eyes filled with trust. Maya knew she had no choice. Not really. I'll do it, she said quietly. The sphere slowly floated toward her. Light surrounded her. Pain shot through her body like fire. But she didn't scream. She held on to one thought. Tira must live. Then suddenly, the pain stopped. Maya opened her eyes. Her skin glowed with faint white lines. Power hummed in her veins. The voice whispered one last time. Say the word, and the inheritors will fall. Maya stepped out of the vault. The seekers crawled into the room, their claws raised. Maya lifted her hand. Shut down. All the seekers froze. Their lights dimmed. Their bodies collapsed like empty shells. Ravin gasped. You did it. You really did it. Tira ran to Maya and hugged her tightly. You saved me again. You saved everyone. Maya held her sister close. No, we saved each other. Outside the vault, the sky was still burning. But now, for the first time, Maya felt something powerful, something bigger than fear. Hope. And she knew the galaxy would never be the same again.